All right. Yeah, so let's start again by welcoming you to the WordPress Santa Clarita Valley meetup. But what we do here, we always celebrate our members. And this week was pretty awesome. Shannon presented a topic at her local library on technology. So Shannon, why don't you go ahead and sort of give us a recap of what happened and tell us the great news.
So I go to an art club at my local library in Queens, New York, and people are always asking me to help them with whatever is going wrong with their telephone. And they're always iPhones. I have no idea. I don't have an iPhone. I have a 3-year-old Android. All right. But I know how to use the internet and I'm able to fix these things. And so there was a little chatter about ChatGPT, and somebody else was asking me about Linktree. So I gave a presentation. The first half was how to set up a Linktree. And the second half showed how I used ChatGPT to construct the entire program in 45 minutes. Now, just to put that in perspective, so it went from workshopping concept, naming the talk, doing an outline, asking it to create a slide deck, the copy for the slide deck. I asked it to do a YouTube video, and then I asked for an 800-word blog post, less than 45 minutes. And then it took me 17 hours to put together my first Google slide deck because I've never done it. And I literally had to ask every question. I was like, Google, how do I insert an image? And then I had to ask people, how do I make videos? But anyhow, it went so well. And from our meetup, Sally, Alicia, Peter, and Sumner were there that I took a screenshot of. Oh, it was great. And
our family travels.
They really supported me because apparently, like, while I was working with the librarian to put this together, Instagram decided they were going to allow 5 links now, but they're not cute. They're URLs. So when somebody brought that up, one of my cohorts here from Santa Clarita Valley WordPress meetup, like, covered me in the whatchamacallit, the chat. Mm-hmm. But I also was just like, you know what, as soon as I publish these slides, they could be obsolete. That's just how technology is. Like, I already know that. It was like water off my back if I'm a duck. Anyhow, really great response. I'm excited. We're going to follow up with an in-person workshop this coming Wednesday. Is it this week? Yeah, this coming Wednesday. And I'm booked for 2 more tech talks. And I have to say, 5+ years of watching Joe put together a slide deck inspired by the way Joe constructed.
Oh boy.
The next one is going to be more of an Alicia-like feeling where everybody brings their problems and you hive group solve.
Yeah. So that's the best way to do it too. Like the way I did my meetup when I first got started, I went to like every meetup in when I was on a leave of absence for my health. I went to every meetup in Southern California and they all were different. One was like humorous. One was, all networking. So there's all these different styles and I just picked little bits from each one to sort of incorporate into how I wanted to do it.
Well, that's what I love about the meetup community and the accessibility community is we all support one another. When I started 2 years ago, you guys were amazing. That's why we're here to, we were there to support Shannon and Joe. And that's just what community is all about. And Shannon, I love that even though some of your slides and whatnot weren't accessible, you brought that up and acknowledged it, even it wasn't, and I just love that authenticity, because we're all still learning. We're still not perfect in everything.
And yesterday, as a matter of fact, I'm sorry to interrupt, Shannon, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, that's something Meryl has really encouraged me to do. She's like, just be, where you're at today and strive to like do more tomorrow. And the entire presentation took me 40 hours to put together because there was the slide deck for the Linktree, but then I had to do a slide deck for the ChatGPT and an intro slide deck. So like I spent 40 hours learning how to build slide decks. But yeah, it wasn't accessible. The colors weren't accessible.
Yeah. And I was just talking to Sumner and she was saying it would be great to do a presentation on accessible presentation. So that sounds like something we should probably do in the future.
Mm.
Yeah. Because there's a number of tools that are better than, traditional PowerPoint, Google Slide type of things.
Okay.
Yeah. So welcome today. If in the chat, last week we did a special meetup on security, and here's the link to that video. I just published it on YouTube too, but you can follow our channel. I think the last link will take you there from these slides here. I'll make these slides available also. We know each other, so we don't need to do the introductions. Welcome again. Today we're gonna do our standard news and WordPress news and information, and then a really brief presentation on captions. And really it's about a viewing experience that I had watching a television show during the pandemic. And again, like I mentioned, we're gonna have to cut this one short today because it's Mother's Day weekend, so I need to leave relatively short soon after I finish. So, all right, we all know the 5 good faith rules because we're all community members. Again, you can find any meetup or just reading information on what's going on in WordPress, like for instance, the happy anniversary stories, all of that stuff is in your dashboard as part of your WordPress install. I'll make this slide deck available, and this link on this page will take you to this slide. So while we're talking, I'll also put it in the chat. In terms of announcements, WordPress Accessibility Day announced their call for speakers. So I would encourage anyone that's interested to get their topics in. Just so you know, like last year, we did a tribute to Sumner as part of WordPress Accessibility Day. And I think the year before, Sumner and Alicia presented. So our community is always well represented there. So get a topic in if you can. Also, I'm on the lead team for WordCamp US and National Harbor, Maryland this year. They're doing one thing that's new that I haven't been in the community long enough to participate in. They're having a community summit, which is going to happen first. And they're doing all of the folks that are in the community and thought leaders come together to talk about the future of WordPress. So they're going to say in the next 5 years, what do we want WordPress to do? They're going to do that first. And that's a small group of maybe 250 to 300 people. And then they're going to do the full blown WordCamp the last 3 days of the summit with Contributor Day. Last year I met Sally at Contributor Day. I mean, we were all there, but we spent time on the accessibility team. So that's going to happen again. It's right across the river from Washington, D.C. in a great location. And about that, their call for speakers is open. They're doing it a little differently, but also the same. This year, they're asking for people to recommend speakers. So if there's somebody that's dynamic, they don't have to be WordPress or not, you can recommend that they speak, and then you can do the traditional submit your topics. So that's open right now. They also have their call for volunteers open. So if you're in that area, a great way to go for free is to volunteer. And there's a lot of great stuff that happens behind the scene. When I first started, I mentioned earlier that I went to every meetup in the area when I was on leave and when I was healing from my heart event. I also immediately volunteered for WordCamp Los Angeles, and that was the greatest experience ever. Like the behind the scenes camaraderie, you get to speak to a lot of people, meet a lot of people, and even hanging out in the if you're monitoring a room, for example, when somebody's presenting, you see some great topics. So it's a great way to get involved that way too. And on Monday, this Monday at 10 a.m., the second round of tickets will go on sale. The third item related to that is last year, and I think they're doing it again this year, the Kim Parcells Memorial Scholarship is available. So if you're a woman and you feel you need assistance to get to the camp, they offer a scholarship in honor of Kim Parcells, who's an awesome contributor to the community. She was always at events and things like that. And they set up a memorial scholarship fund that they do every year. So that's open, as well as Sally and I, we both benefited from Master WP's travel grants to WordCamp US, and they're doing that again this year. So if you're applying to speak and you're accepted, they'll pay for your room and board and travel to the camp, because they want to increase diversity and inclusion, because traditionally and in tech in general, it's been certain demographic, and they feel, it's white male, but they want to get more people of color, more women involved. So a lot of private companies have banded together to do this travel grant again. So if you feel like there's a hardship that you'd encounter just trying to get to the event, those are two good ways to make sure that you can attend. And then the final news and notes in terms of WordPress and WordCamps in general, there's a whole bunch of international ones going right now with the biggie WordCamp Europe in Athens, Greece, happening in June. So that's coming soon. I'm not going to be there. I hope to go one year, but yeah, I was thinking this year, I'm hoping they do it like in London or somewhere like that, but that's coming soon also. All right. Any questions or comments about the news or notes?
No.
All right. So let's get to the presentation. I want to take you on a trip. I've done a number of accessibility presentations in this 7 years that I've been going crazy in WordPress. And one was about captions. And I sort of got interested when, I raised 2 young kids, and one of the movies that's in our DVD collection was The Lion King. And if you watch The Lion King, there's a long sequence at the beginning with the circle of life, and there's no dialogue for about 5 minutes. And I was thinking, if you were disabled and you couldn't hear, how would you see that scene, or how could you enjoy the scene like someone that could hear it? Because it was just a song and, birds flying and things like that. And over time, now if you look at The Lion King, it has captions that sort of describe the music, but back then it didn't. So fast forward to the pandemic, Disney Plus launched, and 2 shows launched. I guess The Mandalorian and the Marvel Cinematic Universe had a few shows that launched, and it was a big success. And I was watching a show called WandaVision, and I was watching the episode 1. The interesting thing about it was set up like a television show. So each show looked like a I Love Lucy sequence. So I was like, what is this? And I was sort of thinking, I don't know if this is for me or not. So one episode would go by, a second episode would go by. And on the 3rd episode, I remember telling my son, I'm going to give it one more episode and then I'm going to bail. But that was directly after my presentation on captions. So I said, let me turn the captions on for this next episode. And again, so this is just a scene from the show. So again, it was just like an I Love Lucy episode. And I was like, why are these Marvel characters in this setting? So I had no idea where the story was going. And I like for things to make sense when I'm watching them. So this was when I said, I'm going to give it one more episode, when it was tailing off here. Because I was like, this is, you see a screen, but then you see someone's hand. So we're like, something's happening. So I said, I'm going to give it one more shot. And so I turned the episode on and I turned on the captions. And what was said in the captions was very interesting. And it's something that's as a filmmaker, I used to make animated films a long time ago, but as a filmmaker, there's a whole bunch of things that you do to set the mood, the opening shot. And like a lot of times there's discussion, like when people are in a bar, for instance, you can hear people talking in the background. But now with captions, a lot of that dialogue appears in these captions. And this particular episode, you can't really see anything that's happening, but I was reading the captions and it tied it to a movie, a previous Marvel movie. So I said, this person is connected to that storyline. And then like a light bulb went on and it totally changed the way I watched that show, and the show got better and better. But if it wasn't for captions, I would have bailed. So that inspired today's presentations on captions. And just to start with the sort of technical definition of captions, this is what captions are for. They provide content to people who are deaf or hard of hearing. So again, like when I harken back to The Lion King, imagine watching The Lion King, which is based on music, and you couldn't hear. How do you hear that? A lot of us have heard Meryl Evans present and at these meetups and at WordCamps, and she's a big advocate for captioning. And one of the stories that I really enjoyed talking to her, and we talked about how she she loves to go to musicals and how someone that's deaf sees a musical. And she told me that, you know, she listens for the bass. And now I think Hamilton was another Disney Plus release where captions were really integrated in how that musical was interpreted. So it gave me a different perspective on captions, but captions are really critical, not just to folks, just like cut curbs, just like cut curbs benefit everyone, not just someone in a wheelchair. And we sort of take it for granted. And captions are the same way. And I find now it's sort of a critical part of how I watch entertainment or consume content. So I was just going to talk about a couple of reasons. And again, this is a really light topic, and I would love to hear like your thoughts on how you, well, let me open it up to you two right now. How do you watch with captions, or how do you consume your content in general? You're muted.
I said, I'll go first. I worked in nightclubs in my 20s and now I can't hear. You know, I'm supposed to have hearing aids, but they're expensive and I haven't done it yet. So I've been watching my content over a decade. So everything I watch. And it also helps with expanding my vocabulary because I'm not the greatest speller. So it's helpful for me to hear it and then see it written.
Yeah, I know. I was just listening to a podcast last week and they were talking about how Huey Lewis is totally deaf now. Like a lot of musicians, you know, I mean, a lot of us abuse our hearing, and I really try to talk. My son is notorious for that. Like these video games that they play are, you know, they're not really good on your long-term hearing. But a lot of times when you're young, you don't want to listen. But these are some, and Sally, I don't know if you had anything to add, or if you...
Well, yeah, I always turn on the captions when watching television shows. Before I did, I wouldn't hear sometimes what they would say. So I had to keep rewinding. And now with captions, if they speak low, if someone has an accent, then I can't understand. I'm caught up to speed because the captions are right there. So I always use them. And also for anyone watching, 80% of people on social media will watch videos with the sound turned off and the captions on.
Yeah. And some of that extra detail is not in what I'm talking about. And really this slide sort of sums up what you were saying. For me, it's critical because, you know, a lot of the content we watch now, especially in a global economy where Netflix and Disney Plus and all these streaming services, they're grabbing content from all over to show on their networks. And a lot of times if it's like, for instance, I have one of my best friends lives in London and his accent is really thick, but the longer I'm around him, I can understand it more. But if I'm watching a foreign film or a film where the accents are pretty heavy, captions are really critical to the viewing experience. Also, and you also mentioned, Sally mentioned the same thing. For me, when I'm on the train or in loud situations where you can't really hear because of, you know, ground noise or surrounding noise, captions are great to help. You know, when I commute in a Metrolink, for example, I have my headphones on, and if I can't hear, I'm looking at the captions. And for me, it's a critical tool in enhancing the entertainment experience. Like even if, like for podcasting, if you have your transcript there, also people can read it if they, you know, if they're trying to hear it and they want to sort of read along with it. That's kind of a critical part of it too. So before, where this stuff was throwaway, like a lot of these scenes in the past where it's like sound or noise going on in the background, it was just to set the scene. But now I feel like they're creating content with and writing to that. So it really helps with the viewing experience. All right. And that was where the other thing I was going to show you also was, if you're doing, and this would help you, Shannon, like if you're recording your presentations in Zoom, for example, Zoom has come a long way during the pandemic. Now, you know, captions are part of the standard package, but also when you record or save your content, you get these file types that you see on the screen. And one of them is a time-coded caption file. So when you upload this, for example, it's a VTT file. if you upload a video, let's just do a little quick demo here. And everyone can see the screen, yeah? Yeah, or yeah, you just see the YouTube.
I'm muted again.
Okay.
Is this the same as a transcript, the VTT?
Yes, but it's time coded. So for instance, so when you import it, it'll match it up to the point in the video. Like if you just import the captions, and you have to sync it yourself. But YouTube does a pretty good job of it. Oops, I was just going to show you one other thing. So yeah, so when you get to the second screen, when you upload, it has an add subtitles, and this is where you go and grab that. And you have the ability to do it with or without timing, but the VTT files have the time code points in. And then so then you could always go back, because that sort of ties into what Meryl will always talk about is these captions, like for instance, the caption files that the transcripts that are on the screen right now. There's a lot of typos, and we don't speak in sentences when we're talking, in proper sentences as we talk. So you can always go back in and clean it up. So this is a great first step, and I always recommend, if you can, use this caption file first, and then go in and update your captions manually, like when you go back through and watch. So yeah.
I was showing somebody a week and a half ago how to access those the transcript and put it into ChatGPT and translate it into their language.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just having I was talking with Ron, and he was mentioning AI for alt text, and I want to hear what Sumner has to say. But and I guess in that sense also, like for alt text, you can go in and edit it afterwards and make it perfect. But yeah, but this is a great tool. I mean, it's really it's so time consuming to make, write your own captions and add them to your video files, that if you have a service or something, like Zoom, that'll do it for you. That makes it pretty easy to go back in and do some editing. So, but yeah, but that was, like I said, that was sort of the gist of what I was saying. And I really wanted to hear from everyone else, like their experiences with captioning. But that's my presentation for today. And like I said, I do apologize, because with the Mother's Day stuff, I sort of didn't get to flesh it all out and do a lot of research. I usually provide a lot of resources also. But I just wanted to open the floor up one last time to any other thoughts or.
Joe, please do not apologize. You put so much into the communities, and you're allowed to have a shorter version one time only. This is it.
I've started trying to say to people, good enough is okay, right? Which kind of comes a little from Meryl's, like, progress, progress over perfection. And I'm like, when I was having that workshop, people would get very, uptight. Oh, I'm not doing this right. I'm like, you know what? Good enough is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect today. You can go back in and tweak it later.
Yeah. And these topics, and I mentioned this year, like a lot of these are like little mini topics. So if it was more people, we'd probably have more dialogue. And the other thing that I wanted to mention also, Sumner mentioned a really cool feature, and I need to go back into Disney Plus and see. She said now Disney Plus has the ability to do ASL. So if you press an ASL button, someone will come up and start signing. So that's even more awesome. And like I said, it's gotten better. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I saw The Lion King when it was remastered on Disney Plus, and the distance or the difference in captions from that version to the original, like I have the original DVD we bought maybe 25 years ago. It's amazing. So as these things get better, it'll really enhance the watching experience. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But then also we need to really be vigilant with folks doing that. I mean, I was also going to, quiz the folks in the audiences to who, if you put up video, if you put up a podcast, how many people put their transcripts or captions up with those videos. It's probably a small number, so we can always do better.
Well, it's interesting with the library. That was part of my call out to do that presentation. I said, we need closed captioning available. even though I made the disclaimer in the beginning that it wasn't live, it was AI generated, but also transcripts. But unfortunately, the recording didn't work out. It didn't get recorded. And both the librarian and I were working in brand new apps and doing things we had never done before. So that's cool.
Are you saying your presentation did not get recorded?
That's exactly what I just said.
Oh, no.
I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
There's a recording of the dress rehearsal, and I was too busy this past week and a little like otherwise engaged. I haven't watched the dress rehearsal, but I'm a little concerned because there was a lot of like back and forth, you know, because I had no control over the slide deck, so we were practicing.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
But that's part of the process too. Like you'll figure out what works and you'll get better. Like don't beat yourself up. Like you just say don't
it was,
it'll get better.
It was WebEx. Like I have no idea.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
You know, but that's what the library uses. So she had never recorded a WebEx presentation. So we asked Google a lot of questions. And then it's interesting because of all of the meetups I've gone to, she was sharing her screen with me and I was saying, okay, let's look at this. All right, let's look at this. And we figured it out, which is what I've learned from, you know, the WordPress community and especially Santa Clarita. It's like, it's okay, let's try this. Oh, it's not there. All right, let's try this.
Yeah, one of the first non-WordPress presentations I did was like for an event in Philadelphia, and it was WebEx, and it was terrible. Like you had no interaction with the audience. I mean, it was a, you know, that's like Zoom took over because WebEx, which was sort of the standard, you know, before Zoom came on the scene, they never really upgraded or improved their process. Sumner also, just to let you know that this happens to even the best of us, Sumner mentioned she did the John Slayton for Nobility presentation the other day, and it was totally messed up. Like it kept knocking her off and stuff like that. So technical issues are going to be part of it. So don't beat yourself up about it.
Oh, that's okay. The library, I ended up having to be at home because I had something come up. And so I was here and the librarian was with the dozen people at the library and she kept forgetting to mute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it takes so much.
All those things.
I mean, it's like you got to figure out, and then you got to worry about people Zoom bombing. And so like, it's so many layers to a successful presentation, but you'll get it. Yeah.
But I have great mentors.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And like I said, maybe you can, you know, talk them into using Zoom or something else.
No, it has to be whatever the Queens Public Library has, you know, they signed a contract and there's no wiggle room.
Okay.
But I think it was Sally who said that I could, she's like, why don't you just make a presentation? I own my slide decks. I could just make a presentation and put it up on my really bad WordPress website. Yeah. I corrected the colors. I did that this week. All my colors were failing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's like, I'll have to send you a link. Like the accessible presentation thing is based on, instead of doing it in the traditional slide format, you just do it as HTML pages. And that way someone that's looking with the screen reader can read it and stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that would have been, but yeah. Joe, you know, at work, I have to write more CSS before I can get a raise. Yeah. It's been 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And I still haven't met the metric. I'm like, don't make me write code.
Oh, I know. What is that about?
I'm like a 2-year-old. I'm like, no. And then I'm like, did I just open my mouth? What I was, because I'm internally screaming every time. I don't know.
Sally, you got your hand up? You don't have to raise it.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one of the things I'd love you to talk about as I'm, you know, working on my website with Alicia and I'm writing blogs, is I'm starting to see a lot of news articles where they're allowing you to listen to the article rather than reading it.
Oh, I love that.
I'd love to know how we put that on the page.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, and like, do we read our own blogs or? Yeah, so I'd love to know how that all works.
Well, what I'm doing, and again, I'd have to look for more specifics. Like I have a Google extension. And hold on, let me see what it's called right here.
What's it called?
And the reason I'm doing it too, like I'm on an equity cohort at my agency, like, you know, folks from around the agency are doing this equity program, but we have lots of reading. And so I'm always busy, and I have this screen reader. It's called Pericles. Let me see if I'll share the link in the channel, but you add this and then it'll read the text on your page. But I've also, you know, I'm on the lead team for US, and I've been, you know, talking to a lot of people on how to make the event more inclusive. And there's this guy, let me see if I can.
How do you spell that?
It's
Oh, you're gonna put it in the chat?
the Greek god Pericles. I mean, I was just trying to look it up in the
Oh,
store. Hold on.
thank you. But I'm seeing like they have a little play button, like a video of an audio recording. So I want to embed those in my blog posts.
Yeah, I think
So,
oh, go ahead, Jen.
Sally, somewhere you can ask the internet this. Somewhere I reviewed like how to make a YouTube video using computerized voices, and it's actually brilliant and amazing. And I don't know if you've ever done, I used to do DJ. I used to DJ. And so I made some mixtapes once using GarageBand. And when I saw them moving the images and syncing the computer generated from the transcripts, it was really similar to the way that I used to mix music 20 years ago in very primitive software. And then I did like, what is it called? What is it called on a Mac?
Guitar Band?
Yeah, whatever.
GarageBand.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so the technology exists. I mean, if you were to, I would guess that maybe if you had a blog post, you can just copy and paste that into this software.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And create whatever the file format, MP3, MP4, I don't even know.
That'd be really cool. I'm assuming I can probably just Google that, right? What you
Oh,
just said, how to
absolutely.
make a video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, I look at a ton of stuff and I don't bookmark anything ever. Seems like, but I know it's possible because I thought, I would love to put together like this site and YouTube school, but I don't want to use me or my voice, right? I don't want the image to be me or my voice to be the voice, the actual tone. Anyhow.
Yeah, in the chat, I shared the plugin that I use in Chrome to read my when I need to do extensive reading. And then on the second page, I've been talking to Ryan a lot about how to make WordCamp US more accessible. And he runs a foundation for people that have neurodivergent challenges. And he has readers on all his pages, and I'll ask him what he uses, but it may just be a simple player that you have to record the reading for, but it sounds like this playback sounds like it's automated. So like I said, I'll ask him to see what they use.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know where my words are today. So you did the color accessibility presentation last fall, and you talked about plugins. Is that on the Santa Clarita Valley YouTube page channel?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Because now I'm finally ready to install those. We're revamping the agency page.
Oh, nice.
And I'm now actually going to be on the website for the agency. And I'm like, if I'm on the website, it has to be accessible. Yep. But I'm the one building it. So
I know you have to, you know, it's probably like, if you want to make it accessible, it's on you. But
but then again, I sometimes I get pushback from creative directors and the UX UI person because they're like, no, we don't like that. And I'm like, you know what though? We're pitching jobs now that are asking for AA. Yeah. And if our site isn't accessible, like I wouldn't hire, oh my God, I don't want anybody to look at my site. I finally fixed the color combination, but I did a bunch of AI generated images out of Firefly, and I need to go in and do my alt tags. I haven't done that yet. because I
But don't get
slapped something
overwhelmed.
together.
It's just do it little by little. You'll be fine.
Well, and thanks to Meryl, I'm like, okay, because Meryl had something on social media and I'm like, oh, my site just failed, like F everywhere. She's like, it's okay, you'll get to it. And I thought, okay, it's okay. I'll go research some colors. I'll see a site that looks okay. I'll run it through and see what's going on, pull the hex codes little by little.
Yeah.
Well, I love how they call it ear play, Joe, on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool. Thank you.
I mean, to me, it's
asking him.
such a good way to read, and because a lot of these pages, and Pericles specifically, it skips the ads and stuff, so it focuses on the content. So it's like distraction-free listening almost. And I know I really find that valuable. Like when I'm driving around, that's perfect for me to listen to an audio book or something like that. So there's times when I can be listening instead of trying to when you're reading, you have to stop everything and sort of. But when you listen, you could sort of digest it in a different way. So anyway, so I'm going to wrap it up here and have a good weekend, both of you. And if you need me to, Shannon, if you need me to promote the next thing, just shoot me an email and I'll send it
Okay.
out to the
We're
group
doing
and let
something
you
in
know.
person at the library. So the next one that we do that's broadcast, thank you so much. Because I don't know who Peter is, but I'm like, he said he found out through Santa Clarita through your email.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of valuable information to contribute too.
Oh, I was so grateful for my WordPress team in the background filling in the blanks while I was like trying to hold it together, literally.
Well, he couldn't tell that you were having a problem at all. It was seamless. It was great. It was
well, that's
engaging.
Thanks. That's because we had a safe word, because I've got like this ongoing issue, and I invoked the safe word, and then I was like, all right, talks amongst yourselves.
Okay.
So the librarian knew I was ditching out for a second, and then y'all covered for me.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, I wish I had a bad WordCamp US day that day, and I got pulled away for a meeting. So, but yeah, I definitely be there.
It's all good. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, and
thank
Joe,
you, Sally.
Thank you. Good to see you, and thank you for asking about the ear play. I'm looking at the code on his website, but I'm not seeing it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely ask him. Yeah, he's been a really cool guy. He has so much good information about accessibility.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a beautiful weekend. Mother's Day celebration.
See you soon.
Bye.